Hello and welcome back to another Warcraft lore video, and today it is time to talk about the Gnolls. But unlike my other various videos on the mongrel races of Azeroth, this one might be a little bit shorter. The Gnolls don't exactly have a massive amount of background information, but regardless, there's still quite a bit to talk about. So first of all, the Gnolls are, as you probably know, a bunch of pretty aggressive hyena people that we carve our way through from really levels 1 through 40, and while they are pretty simple in World of Warcraft, they are actually in the Warcraft 3 manual and also the Lance of Magic and Manual of Monsters RPG sourcebooks, and those things basically do tell us quite a bit more than what we just see in-game. Now, of course, the RPG stuff isn't considered to be canon, but it's usually pretty spot on in terms of culture and society and all that stuff. So as always, I'm going to start off by covering their origins. Well, I would if we actually knew them. We know that they are a relatively new race in the grand scheme of things, and that they're mainly sort of found in and around the Eastern Kingdoms, though one or two tribes did make it over to Kalimdor. In terms of their actual origins, well, we don't really know. Bran Bronzebeard, as always, thinks they might descend from a hyena ancient, but really, bar that, we don't actually have any solid details. That comes from the World of Warcraft official magazine, which was the thing they used to do a few years ago, and Bran seems to think that just about everything comes from some sort of ancient, so make of that what you will. Anyway, physically they are very, very muscular, and unfortunately to us, they sort of get to that stage by killing things, including us. Their society is pretty much based around the idea of being strong and stomping on things and slashing things. Rather than having a sort of caste system or anything like that, their entire hierarchy is based off strength, with the strongest Gnoll, known as the Brute, being the leader, and being a leader is fine in theory, but the chances are that you'll probably just be killed at the first sign of weakness. It's a pretty savage style of ascension, but it's pretty representative of the rest of their society. Now, they do love to raid things, so they hunt animals and, raid villages, steal things, and in general just cause a bit of a ruckus. And it seems like just the sheer joy of killing seems to drive them. I'm sure they do like scavenging food. They're sort of generally not really that big into growing their own food or making things. They just like to scavenge and take it from others. And of course that works pretty well because, as I said, they do love killing things and bashing things. Now, as much as they do love killing other things, they do enjoy killing each other as well, with one of the source books telling us that lots of battles to the death basically happen between them, and the WoW magazine has even said that they apparently get into fights over who has the largest shadow. So essentially, they're not the most clever things, but let's just dive into their intelligence a little bit more. So, by all accounts, they're not completely dumb, they're rather mostly dumb. They've kind of got a basic grasp of concepts and things like that, so they can kind of form tribes and build what I suppose you could call a village if you're being really generous. Still though, some of them are able to speak Broken Common, and they all do speak very low Common. Broken Common is just kind of like speaking human language, but really broken, and low Common is the kind of more gruntish. I suppose that's probably the best way of putting it, a way of speaking that a lot of the more mongrel races sort of speak. Now, while they are not really clever enough to build much outside of their little tent villages, they do seem to be pretty decent at taking over other people's stuff. We see in many instances they're like setting up shop in disused mines and things like that. Also, many of the Gnolls end up working as mercenaries. I've got to assume that they either get captured, or perhaps some of the slightly more intelligent Gnolls, who aspire to more than beating each other with crude mallets, end up choosing a life of crime and plunder. Regardless though, they all make fantastic cannon fodder, which is pretty much how we usually interact with them. And now their combination of half a brain and being pretty strong means that they are generally good with melee weapons, but they also use crude bows and things like that, though it is quite apparent that they do prefer getting up close with their enemies, at least according to the source books. Also, in addition to this, a few of them can practice very basic shamanism, though it's not really anything to be particularly scared of. And that's sort of it as far as the Gnolls go. Unfortunately, not that many of them have been involved in many great deeds, so there's not a great deal to talk about. I'll quickly just go over the various clans, but really none of the clans have done much that's really that noteworthy. Now, we probably see the most Gnolls in Red Ridge. The Red Ridge tribe just sort of hunt and raid the nearby roads on the way into the Red Ridge Mountains, and the Shadowhide people are a little bit more interesting in that they're under the command of a black dragon called Darkblaze, who you deal with in the John J. Keeshan questline, which is a fun questline. It's basically you and Rambo going off in a tank and murdering things, which is good. Now also there are the Riverpaws, which you will see in Westfall and Elwyn. Of course, the mighty Hogger, which we all know and love, is a part of that. And really, they're largely just killed, and they're sort of low-level, like, cannon fodder to get the newbies into World of Warcraft, though a few of them have joined up with the Defias Brotherhood. And really, all this pirate outfit and bandit stuff does, I think, make a lot of sense. They love killing things, they're good at hunting, they're good at whacking things, and the relative dumbness means that they make pretty decent low-level muscle that's probably not going to question you if it's quite apparent that you're just bigger and more powerful and strong than them. Now you've also got the undead Rothhide ones in Lordaeron, the Pale Manes in Mulgore, the Mud Snouts in the Hillsbred Foothills, and then also the Moss Hides in the Wetlands, and that is basically it. We do not see any more Gnolls, and though of course at the higher levels we do sometimes see Gnolls like joining up with pirates or something like that, but that's really all the main tribes. They are not a race that have really been of much prominence since the vanilla game. Maybe we'll see in the future, maybe not. I think the only chance that they really had was the idea of the Mongrel Horde expansion, which they sort of scrapped in favor for the, the Iron Horde stuff with Warlords of Draenor. So that's basically it for them. I will be covering other races in upcoming weeks. If you've got any suggestions for just lore in general, leave them down in the comments. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.